This is Daily Armenia, CivilNet's daily news digest. Here's what's making headlines in Armenia today. Armenia's Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev held a rare bilateral meeting in the Russian city of Kazan that hosts a BRICS summit these days. No public statements have been made so far from either side. Russian President Vladimir Putin mentioned Armenia and Azerbaijan in his speech at the summit today, praising the border demarcation process between the countries that started earlier this spring. It is a good thing that the demarcation has started, as it will contribute to the peace agreement, he said, referring to the highly anticipated normalization deal between Yerevan and Baku. Speaking of the deal, Pashinyan once again confirmed that the treaty is almost fully agreed upon and contains provisions on mutual recognition of territorial integrity, non-use of force and threat of force, and non-interference into each other's internal affairs. The European Union is considering extending its civilian mission to Armenia, the country's Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan said during a Q&A session in Parliament today, adding that Armenia expects the European observers to remain on the border with Azerbaijan until the normalization deal is signed with Baku. Until we have signed and ratified a peace deal with Azerbaijan, until our relations are settled, we have concerns regarding Azerbaijan's possible actions, and therefore we need a neutral third party, such as the EU mission, Mirzoyan said. Various Azerbaijani and Russian officials and media have accused the EU mission, which observes the border between Armenia and Azerbaijan, of gathering intelligence and preparing provocations ever since it was launched last January. Responding to a different question, Mirzoyan said that Armenia will not hold normalization talks with Azerbaijan within the 3+3 framework that involves Turkey, Russia and Iran, dismissing the respective proposal put forward by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov last week. We hold bilateral negotiations with Azerbaijan discussing border delimitation and the peace treaty. This is why we believe there is no reason to respond positively to such a proposal, Mirzoyan said. He also noted that Armenia's dialogue with Turkey is progressing, particularly in the areas like airspace cooperation, which has shown tangible improvements. The 3+3 format, proposed by Russia and Turkey after the 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh war, aims to foster cooperation between Armenia, Azerbaijan and Georgia, along with Russia, Turkey and Iran. Georgia, however, has refused to participate, citing its unresolved conflict with Russia. Former US President and current presidential candidate Donald Trump claimed yesterday that he would establish peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan if elected, and also accusing his opposition Kamala Harris of inaction during last year's Azerbaijani ethnic cleansing of Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh. Kamala Harris did nothing while 120,000 Armenian Christians were horrifically persecuted and forcibly displaced in Artsakh. Christians around the world will not be safe if Kamala Harris is President of the United States. When I am president, I will protect persecuted Christians, I will work to stop the violence and ethnic cleansing, and will restore peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan, Trump posted on his social media. Trump's assertions of being able to end the violence and resolve the conflict stand in contrast to his administration's failed diplomatic efforts during the 2020 war in Nagorno-Karabakh, when similar attempts to broker a ceasefire were unsuccessful. During his electoral campaign, Trump has also made numerous claims that he could immediately stop the war between Russia and Ukraine, although he has not revealed specific steps he would take to achieve this. US Vice President and Trump's opponent in the presidential race, Kamala Harris, called for the return of Nagorno-Karabakh's Armenians to the region last month. In addition, the Joe Biden-Kamala Harris administration became the first in the US history to recognize the Armenian genocide. Alan Simonyan, Armenia's parliament speaker, has since labeled as pivotal the administration's efforts to stop Azerbaijan's invasion of Armenia in September 2022. The United States will hold presidential elections on November 5th. The country is home to one of the world's largest Armenian diaspora communities. You can also read our explainer on Armenia's plan to establish a so-called dry port in the northwestern Shirak region, despite receiving preliminary approval and a $37 million government investment pledge. The project, intended to enhance Armenia's logistics infrastructure, remains in limbo. The Economy Ministry is still negotiating with international partners, including Middle Eastern companies and development banks. Although a feasibility study has been completed, construction time timelines remain unclear. You can read the full article on our website at CivilNet.am or by following the link in the video description below. And finally, the CivilNet number of the day is 1511. This is because 1511 cases of breast cancer were recorded in Armenia this year. Although this number might seem frightening, doctors say the growing figures show promising changes in Armenia's medical landscape, as it means more breast cancer cases are being detected and treated than before. Although diagnosis procedures have improved, allowing doctors to save more lives. Dr. Simonian from the National Oncology Center of Armenia says breast cancer is increasingly affecting younger women these days. You can learn more on this topic from our article found on CivilNet's website and also in the video description below. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.